Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to Insights in the Parsha of the Week based on the teachings of Rebbe Nachman and breslov-therapy, Parshat BaMidbar. So, this Parsha is just amazing. As every Parsha is, there's so much to learn from every Parsha, and you need a merit that Hashem opens up a little light to see some amazing messages hidden in the Torah, in the Parsha of the Week. We'd like to go into the whole concept, idea of the tribe of Levi. And in this week's Parsha, Hashem appoints them. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to pick them out, to select them out of Am Yisrael, and they will be, instead of Am Yisrael, given to Aaron and the Kohanim to serve them. That means the tribe of Levi, again, outstanding of the Kohanim, they serve as a type of mediator, an in-between entity between Am Yisrael and the Kohanim and the work of the Kohanim. The Torah stresses many places in Parshat Korach, in this week's Parsha, and also in various places in Parshat Shmini, in the book of Vayikra, that the work of the Kohanim is very sacred and holy and forbidden for anyone to come close. It says a few times like this phrase, V'hazar hakarev yumat. Any foreigner tries to enter the work of the Kohanim will die. It's very severe, okay? Because of severity, the Jewish people, like was presented in Parshat Korach, they said, we're going to die now. Because every time, everyone that comes too close to the Beit HaMikdash, even just like he steps 1 foot in the wrong domain, he's liable death penalty. And he does something wrong, and he gets involved by accident with the Kohanim's work, it's dangerous. So there has to be an intermediary in a sense, someone who's there in between to protect, to be like a bodyguard or a wall that the Jewish people shouldn't get too close. And also the Kohanim have their distance in what they're doing, and the Levites serve both sides. The Levi'im, therefore the part of the Jewish people not to get too close. They are involved with the Kohanim in the Beit HaMikdash, helping out and making sure as a boundary that the Jewish people don't get too close. And also they're there to serve the Kohanim in what they're doing. Like the Pasuk says, V'shertu oto, verse number 6, chapter 3, this week's Parshat BaMidbar. Verse number 6, V'hamadata oto lifnei Aaron HaKohen, you should stand the tribe of Levi in front of Aaron the priest. V'shertu oto, it says clearly, and they'll serve the Kohanim. And then also it says that they're instead of Am Yisrael, and that's why Rashi points out why they're deserving to receive tithe, the ma'asrot. The ma'asrot is Maaser Levi that goes to the Levites, like a 10%, because of what they're doing, their involvement in the temple, etc. Okay? So the term Levi is like a livui, escort, to escort and protect in a sense. Okay? This is originating from what Leah said to Yaakov on the night of the conception of Levi. Hapa'am yilave li ishti. This time, my husband will escort me. Li'alave. He'll be with me instead of being with Rachel. And from that night was conceived Levi. Okay? So the name Levi is very interesting. It's a joiner. It's an in-betweener. And it protects. In a sense, this relates to what Rebbe Nachman brings down, this concept in lesson 24 of what's called matei velo matei, reaching and not reaching, touching and not touching, in and out. The Levites were in and out. They're inside the temple, working with the Kohanim, but they're restricted. They can't do what the Kohanim are doing. At the same time, they protect the Israelites. Hey, don't come too close. You're not allowed to pass this line, okay? They're an in-between essence between Am Yisrael and the Kohanim who are serving Hashem. The Kohanim are called Kohanim because they're not Chas Shalom Hashem, but they're representing the work of Hashem. That's why it's Holy of Holies. What the Kohanim do is Holy of Holies. And the Levites serve as this in-between entity to protect and not allow who's not supposed to be there to come too close. And also that the Kohanim also shouldn't pass. In other words, the Parsha also says that the Levites help the Kohanim to guard their sanctity. A Kohen can't touch, for example, the Aron HaKodesh, can't enter the Holy of Holies. The Levites are there to help to keep in track on guard the tribe of the Kohanim, the priest of the temple. Okay, so there's a lot in that idea of Levi being an in-betweener and a wall to protect and to maintain a stability. So now, what's amazing is the Midrash Rabbah on this week's Parsha, BaMidbar Rabbah, brings a verse from Psalms, Motzi Asirim Bakosharot. Hashem takes out those who are Asirim, which translates to those who are bonded, Bakosharot. Kosharot means in an opportune, kosher time. This verse is expounded many ways in this week's Parsha, eventually talking about the Levites, why the Levites were chosen, why Hashem, like the Parsha says, Hashem took the Levites instead of the firstborn. The firstborn erred, they fell in the golden calf, they were involved in the golden calf, so they lost the opportunity to serve in the tabernacle and in the Beit HaMikdash. So instead was the tribe of Levi. Why? Because the tribe of Levi maintained being a kosher tribe all the way in Egypt. They didn't fall into the test of Pharaoh, becoming subjugated in the bondage of Egypt. They were involved in Torah study, even though they were poor, but they were involved in Torah study, and they maintained their devotion to Hashem in Egypt, and also in the desert, where it says the other Jews were afraid to circumcise. The Levites were circumcised and circumcising, like Rashi says, quoting from the Gemara. They were always connected. And in the golden calf, they didn't sin. When Moshe Rabbeinu said, Mi Lashem Elai, who is to Hashem, come to me. So the whole tribe of Levi came to Moshe, showing that not one of them submitted and fell to the error of the golden calf. So they maintained a high level of dedication and commitment to Hashem. So they're considered a kosher tribe. So that's the verse that the Midrash explains, Motzi Asirim, Hashem took out the Jews who were bonded in bondage in Egypt, Bakosharot, in the merit of the kosher tribe. Okay? And with that, the Midrash says that's why they're chosen to be the Levites in the temple. In other words, in our perspective, this work of being in between, this type of a wall to protect, to not let those who are not supposed to come too close, and to be distance enough. Like we said, matei velo matei, reaching and not reaching, that was the tribe of Levi. Now, this is the concept of the Levi who's in between mankind and, so to speak, Hashem. All the big tzaddikim came from the tribe of Levi. Moshe Rabbeinu, the Levites themselves, okay? You had many tzaddikim in the tribe of Levi. You had also people who went off, like Korach, but in the main, they were people who were dedicated totally to the temple. More than that, the Gemara says in Arachim that the Levites were taught by Moshe Rabbeinu and other tzaddikim the secret of music. Music today is like a skill. You know, philharmonic, classical music, Beethoven, they look at it as a skill. From a Jewish Torah perspective, all the deep secrets of the Kabbalah and of creation were given into the teaching methods of music of the Levites in the Beit HaMikdash. That way they activate a high level of connection to God through their music. Again, music was offered dafka by the Levites in the temple, while the Kohanim were involved in shechting the animal, and the Israelites were bringing their sacrifices to activate atonement, forgiveness, or giving thanksgiving, or peace offerings, whatever it was. The Levites were there playing the music, like we said, this in-between aspect between Holy of Holies, between Hashem's infinite light, and the rest of the world, the Jewish people, Am Yisrael, etc., were coming to the temple. The music being played by the Levites on the Duchan was to also connect, to make a boundary that a person's still a physical entity, he can't go too much, but to give him an experience of that light and emotion, of joy, of feeling connected to God. That was the job of the Levites again, and this shows this idea again of the connector factor of the Levites. So going back to this Midrash, the Midrash brings many explanations on this one verse until it gets to the verse. It gets to its explanation with the Levites, Motzi Asiri Bakosherot, like we explained earlier. But it starts off something phenomenal. It starts off explaining this verse regarding marriage. Unbelievable. The Midrash brings a story how one of the rabbis was approached by a very wealthy empress of the Roman Empire, And she asked this sage that she really held in high esteem, "What is your God busy doing all this time?" So he said, "He's busy matchmaking." She cracked up. Matchmaking? Any quit matchmake. And the rabbi didn't want to say anything. He didn't want to say, "Okay, Bechavo, let's see you do it." He just remained silent and let her make her own conclusion. So she said, "You know what? I'm going to show that I can do this also." She had 1,000 male servants and 1,000 maid servants who were all not married yet. She lined them all up and she matched you with you, you with you. You guys are now married and you guys are living together now. 1,000 matches. Okay? And they all went to their private homes, wherever, the next residence. When they came back the next day to work, this one, his eye was all swollen. This one, her arm was broken. This guy had a broken leg, a broken nose. She said, "What's going on?" And they all said, "I don't want to live with him. I don't want to live with her. I don't want to live with him. I don't want to live with her." And she freaked out. She said, "What's going on?" But then she understood that it's a big feat to matchmake people. So she came back and she said, "There's no one like the God of the Jewish people. Now I understand." So the Midrash explains, the commentaries explain on the Midrash, that Hashem motzi asirim bakosharot. He's able to take two opposites, a man with certain features, certain interests, certain desires, certain aspirations, and take a woman who's totally opposite from him, and he's able to bring them together. Motzi asirim, he takes out, asir can also means someone who's tied up, but he's not married, he's single. He's in himself, tied up alone, all wrapped up into himself. So Hashem takes out asirim bekosharot, in a kosher way, to bring them together. The Midrash brings many other explanations on this connected to marriage and relations, having righteous children. But one of the main explanations here is Hashem is so great, it's in line with this story that the Midrash brings, that he can match people in such a kosher way that they don't match. Motzi asirim bakosharot, Hashem brings them out, those who are separated and not together and totally different in mentality and attitude and everything, two separate pieces of a puzzle, and to join them together by kosharot. Okay? So now, the Midrash says, if it's not for divine intervention, no marriage can succeed. No marriage can succeed. That's what the rabbi showed the empress, that without Hashem interceding, you can't join. You tried to join 1,000 servants with another 1,000 maid servants. It didn't work. So Hashem is the point joining. So the commentaries say and explain that the fact that the Midrash starts off with the idea of marriage partners on this one verse, and then concludes with the idea of Levi from the same verse, shows the connection of Levi to marriage. Going back to what we said, what Leah said up to Yaakov, "Hapam yilave li ishi." You're coming. This time, my husband will come to me, because I brought now 4 kids, more than the other allotted amount. Where Rashi says that each of the 4 mothers, Bilha, Zilpa, Rachel, and Leah, they all knew that to bring in together 12 tribes. So when Leah saw that she had, it was like 3 times 4 is 12. When she had number 4, which is Levi, so she said, "Wow, at this point, yilave li ishi. My husband now will stay to me because now I brought in an additional child, and I stick out now that I'm very important. I'm producing with him more children than is allotted to each of the 4 of us." Okay, so Levi, the fact that she called him Levi because she's saying that now my husband will be connected to me, shows that a factor between husband and wife to keep them together is the concept of Levi. Meaning, no matter how much people try to go to marriage counseling and this, and then the guy goes counseling, has to work on himself in this area and she in that area, and in many cases it still doesn't work. She's not interested in him still, and he's trying his best or is not interested either. What joins the couple is, of course, Hashem, but on a if you want to say a practical but still very far practical point that joins husband and wife is the concept of Levi. What's the concept of Levi? Like we said, the few ideas that Levi represents. He's the in and out, matei velo matei. He is the aspect of allowing husband to connect through being in and out of holiness. In other words, there's something that allows the connection to be maintained through Levi, and Levi represents what? Allowing experience, and at the same time a refrainment. This is also expressed, by the way, in the way husband and wife work out, that a woman has a cycle. There's the time she's forbidden, permitted. So all that is to maintain that connection also of in and out. That's a concept of Levi. But more than this, Levi also, in his job of being an in and out person, he's like the liaison between Am Yisrael and Hashem, with the sacrifice being offered to Hashem, with the servants of the Kohanim. The Levi'im were busy with music. What does spiritual music do? What did the music of the Beit HaMikdash do? You should have a chance if you ever see Shiltei Giborim. He has a long explanation of the power of the music of the Beit HaMikdash. And music today, as beautiful as it may be, a concert with a 100-piece orchestra, and you're flipping out, all that, it comes to nothing, he says, Shiltei Giborim, to the quality of the music that was in the Beit HaMikdash. Every drop of music and professionalism in the music industry today, of good music, has sparks in it from the Beit HaMikdash, from the music of the Levi'im, the Levites, who were the ones who received the true secret of music, the proper music to connect to Hashem. So music being a means to activate simcha, and even simcha and music is in and out. You can't be happy all day. It's an in and out experience. This is what's hinted to in the Parsha of the Levites being motzi asirim bakosharot, someone who's stuck, entangled in jail. If it's a husband and wife relationship where they're two separate people, they're not connected. What can connect them is the idea of Levi. The idea of Levi being the idea of simcha, of music, nigun, melody, the happiness of joy, which emanates from this type of spiritual nigun, spiritual song, where a person is looking to connect. This seems to be the connection between husband and wife. No matter how opposite they are, the music of Levi is what connects them. So on a practical level, the idea of Levi is where a couple, mainly the husband side, they look to have a spiritual connection to God out of joy, and knowing that it's in and out. This is the key to maintain a marriage. There's so much more to talk about this, but basically in a nutshell, this is the idea of Levi, and why Leah said specifically, Yilave li ishi. That's why she called him Levi. My husband now will be joined to me. Why until now? No. The idea is there's a livui, there's a concept of levaya, there was a simcha. It says, Rashi says that Leah was always looking to do more good. She was looking to bring in more tribes. Rashi says this also, that my sister Leah is so successful because she is more of a tzaddiket than me. She's more pure than me. So that factor, that she was looking for good, she was positive, she was besimcha. She said the connection to me and Yaakov is the Levi now. Yilaveh li ishti. Okay? Ishi. So this concept also is in the Parsha, why Levi is also mentioned a lot in the Parsha, of his role, that he's an interface between Am Yisrael and the Beit HaMikdash, and also for the Kohanim also. His job is to be an interface, to put a boundary in and out, like we said, matei velo matei. This, Rebbe Nachman says in lesson 24, is the key of simcha. The key of joy is that a person, when he's in and out, he still maintains a stability of joy. This is the power of music. Music, holy music, helps a person also to handle difficult times and good times. The music just reminds a person to connect, to stay connected, whether in and out, I'm still there. And this is the secret of marriage also, Bezrat Hashem. Shabbat Shalom, and hope that was all clear.